What's up, church? On a big stage, man. Let's give it up for all the music and the speakers before me, man. It was great. I kind of did have a couple notes. I might not need them, but sometimes my head speeds up in these big stages. But so my name's Chris. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. My recovery date's September 1st, 2017. I'm a member of Strength and Recovery. I work 2 12-step programs, and I still have a hard time changing certain things about myself. Zach texted me this morning, am I still coming tonight? And I was thinking, because he's been asking me to come up here for a while, and I've been in a wilderness season for a minute, and I can kind of use that as a crutch, or it can kind of feed my exact nature to not come in here and get honest with you guys. But when he asked me to speak, it was a couple weeks ago, I'm thinking my daughter's probably got something going on. I might be at the shore, probably got something with work. And the calendar was clear, man. I had nothing going on. And, so I said, yeah, I'll be there. It was on the primary purpose. And this is probably one of the few times where I didn't come up with a whole script to tell you guys my all-star AA shares, and, because I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of kind of where I'm at with the primary purpose. But when he texted me, are you still coming tonight? I was like, man, I told him I was coming. I shot him my picture, a bio. He posted it. He sent me the schedule, the lineup, and he still asked me if I'm going to come. So I was like, that's how much I've been sidestepping certain areas of the primary purpose, which is tonight's topic, and I'm going to get into that. I want to share what transpired this week. I went up to Sight and Sound in Lancaster to see the story of Joshua. If you take nothing from my message, take that. You got to get up there and see that. That place is a one-of-one experience. I go every year, take the kids up there, and we went up there on Monday. The show was Tuesday. I took my daughter that's 13 and my 7-year-old niece, and we go up to the same place that I went to as a kid. My parents took me up there when I was young, and we get in there to check in. The kids, both the girls, they load the whole cart up with all the luggage. They get on it. I push them on in to the front desk, and they told me that they overbooked, and they got no rooms. And I said, I've been coming here my whole life. It's never happened, She said, we're going to send you somewhere else. And this part of my exact nature is good, because the first thing I thought was, God's doing something. I wasn't even worried. I said, something good's happened. I could kind of feel it. And but I did have that little, because she said, we're going to send you somewhere else, this called Eden Suites up there. I said, well, I don't know. I never heard of it. I'm going to go there and check it out before I tell you. And she said, well, you can go there for one night, come back here the next night. And I said, I'm not doing that with 2 kids. We're going to stay where we go. So we went there and went in, and I go in, and the lady at the front desk, I told her what happened. I said, yeah, they said they called over here. She said, well, I think this is a blessing in disguise. I said, come on. And when I said that, I'm going to get off topic here. It's happened to me twice in the past couple months where I was talking to 2 junior pastors, one at a church, one was actually at the gym. And I started sharing my story about, I started reading the word, got sober, got a sponsor, and they go, come on, come on. And I told my buddy Barrett I work with, I'm like, that just annoys me when they say that. I don't know why. They're, come on. So the girl back at the hotel, she's clicking on the keyboard after that, and she says, oh, the other hotel just emailed over. They're going to cover your whole stay. Only 2 nights, but 3-something nights, $600-700. I said, come on. Then the kids come running up, and I'm telling them, hey, we got comped. And we get there. I said, we're staying here. We didn't got to pay. And they're always scheming. They said, that means we go shopping tomorrow. We can get more stuff. I said, come on. So then we went in there, and it was next level, man. Indoor pool with the retractable roof, outdoor pool, saunas, hot tubs. And we had a heck of a time, man. We had a heck of a time. But the next day, we went to Sight and Sound for the story of Joshua. And I'm sitting in there, and this place is 3 stages, the 3D, 4D lights. I mean, you feel like you're in a Bible story. The animals come up the aisles, horses, llamas going by. I mean, so I'm sitting there, and Joshua's talking about Moses comes down there taking the Israelites through the wilderness, out of Egypt, out of slavery, to their promised land. And I'm sitting there, and they're going through the story, and when they get them out in the wilderness to freedom, they're headed. Anytime they ran low on food or water, and God was providing the whole time, their clothes never wore out. Anytime they got low, they started saying, we should go back. they're telling Moses and Joshua we should go back. We shouldn't even be going. And they would go further. Joshua and Moses would strengthen them and tell them the Lord's leading us. And then they see these cities to overcome. I think it was the Amorites or something, the cities to overcome. And I'm not going to lie, from being at the show, like, there were some big boys up there in these cities, a lot of people. And the Israelites were like, nah, man, we're going back. We don't want to go that way. And I'm sitting there listening to this, thinking about the primary purpose and kind of where I'm at in the wilderness, that the Israelites' primary purpose was the promised land, but their exact nature was telling them to go back to slavery. And that's me. That's where I've been at in this journey, in this season of recovery. I see cities, except the cities I see are within. And they're the cities that I want to, sometimes I'm not going to go back to slavery. I'll go back to a defect. And I'm going to get into that. I have a good friend of mine, Kim Package, who I got sober in South Philly, and she's a heavy hitter. And she once told me that if her 4-step would help somebody, she'd hang it on the wall. So I figured that's what I'm going to do tonight. It's because it's been keeping me from the primary purpose. And I was just thinking about, like, this week, like, when did it all start? When did the approval seeking, when did the fears, the insecurities, when did they start? I remember being a young kid. I was probably like 8 years old. I remember wrestling a kid out in the snow, and he held me down to the point where I couldn't get up. And we weren't fighting, we were wrestling, but I couldn't get up. And I had on the scarf and all that, so I couldn't breathe, right? And the closest thing to death is not breathing. So I knew when I got up, I'd never want to feel like that ever again. And I was a small in stature kid, so I knew at that I would say around that age, I started having disruptive attention-seeking behavior. Shooting spitballs, throwing snowballs, breaking windows, hanging around, like constantly in trouble, because I wanted, for me, control meant safety. If I control what you thought about me, I felt safe. So I could never a big kid, but I would bully the kids I knew I could get away with it with, and I figured that the tough kids would like me, and it always worked. But these behaviors, there's a progression into sobriety, and I'll even speed it up. Like in 7th or 8th grade, a kid told me, meet me at the park. He wanted to fight me over something. I forget what it was. I went home and told my stepbrother that one of the toughest kids told me to meet him at the park, and everybody's going to be there. So my stepbrother, him and a couple of his friends were over 6 foot in 8th grade, We went down to the park, just the 3 of them and me, and there's like 10 dudes down there, and my stepbrother went up and talked to him. And within 5 minutes, the toughest kid in the neighborhood was apologizing to me. And I didn't have to do nothing. At that point, I said, man, I just got the same thing. I had behaviors, and I knew I just had to have the right people around me. And I never had to be held down like that kid and be afraid to get up, And the behaviors, they went on and on, even up to when I graduated high school. I was dating a girl that tried out for the Sixers dance team. She did not make it. But the very next job I got, I went in and I was telling all my coworkers that I was dating a Sixers cheerleader. And it's just because I'm walking into these rooms and I feel less than, I feel inferior. I have this complex since I was a kid, and I automatically got to tell you something to mask how I really feel inside, And I didn't think nothing of it then until the Christmas party when one of my coworkers asked her. I gear shift real quick. If you get me off, they asked her, hey, you're a Sixers cheerleader. I just jumped right in. Yeah, I told him all about it, man, and she's doing it. He might not have bought it, but, I jumped right in there. And this is before, like, drinking and partying and drugs. This is before all that. And I'll give you one last story before I get into kind of where I'm at now. Remember going to the bar, and I was early 20s, and I got thrown out for being rowdy, man. I was very rowdy, very extroverted. And I remember getting thrown out. And back in the day, or even today, I don't go to bars, and it's been a long time, but the bars and the clubs had that thick plastic on the outside, so you could go out there, and they wrapped it in that thick plastic, the whole deck was, but nobody was out there. So when I got thrown out, I took my keys, I cut the plastic, I packed up like 3 snowballs. I went back in the bar, and I was lighting the bouncers up inside the bar. And the very next day, like, nothing happened. I was with all my boys, nothing happened. But the very next day, everybody's like, oh, Kelso was in there firing snowballs. So every weekend, I want to do the next craziest thing. And if you talk to anyone I grew up with, man, it was always, I was always, and my friends today that I grew up with are still like brothers to me. Even got brothers in recovery. I have some good friends I grew up with. But I always had behaviors like that to try to make people like me. And you see the progression, like from grade school to high school. And at this point, it's in every area of my life. And just to qualify myself, at 40 years old, I went up in rehab with bankruptcy and divorce paperwork. And got a sponsor in South Philly, started working the steps. I saw myself in my fourth step. I saw the approval seeking. I saw it clear as day. I just want to say that I saw it at this point. I kind of went to my menses, and I was on that pink cloud for a couple of years in sobriety, and I got some solid God stories, and I was on that beam for a while. But probably right before I met Zach at that meeting, that cloud lifted, man, and I was probably like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years sober. I really don't know. But I started to feel that feeling again, that the insecurities, the fears. I started to feel the shame, the guilt, that maybe it wasn't dealt with in recovery, first time through the steps. And because of that pink cloud, I want to say I didn't really see it, but it was coming back pretty heavy. And I started working the steps with Zach at the time. But the thing was, now I go in rooms, Zach's telling me, get honest, share about it. And I'll go into a room, and I'll go into the room, and whatever it is, my head, my nervous system says, no, not safe here. You can't share that here, man. Share with them about how you made amends with that bookie, because that's a good story. The first time I shared it, I got everybody pull me. So that's when I walk into a room full of shame, I got these go-to shares, man, because my head tells me it's not safe here. And I did that for a while, regurgitate the same shares at meetings because I didn't want to deal with what I was feeling. And I felt like the Israelites, man. I felt like I was seeing these big cities and I'm going back to slavery, man. You know, I was afraid to go that way. And, you know, it wasn't until I started working the steps with Zach, the Christian step book, and started to get honest one-on-one first, you know. I haven't got this honest at all, so I figured on stage would be a good time. But yeah, you know, and it got to the point where the primary purpose of the group is I started avoiding meetings because I didn't want to get honest. I started not taking commitments because I didn't want to get honest. I started avoiding, you know, the primary purpose of the group, but I would lean on, hey, I'm sponsoring 2 guys, you know, I'm making the Christian 12-step group, I'm skipping this, and I just had this, you know, and lately I'm like, man, this, you know, it's not working. It's not working. And I had a couple, so the step workbook I've been going through with Zach has been, you know, it's been awesome, man. It's gotten me to get honest. It's given me the push I need, and the guys from the group, you know what I mean? They know me, and that's the thing in recovery. Like I might be able to fool people outside the rooms with my stories and all that, but in recovery, Zach says it. These guys got X-ray vision, man. They know what's going on. And it's just a matter of me getting honest with what's going on. So I had a couple encounters throughout, and I'm going to get into kind of where that's where I've been at, man. So I'm sitting at Sight and Sound, and I'm just seeing the Israelites, and I'm like, that's me. That's me right now. And it's just like a week before I'm speaking, and I'm like, I hear God just giving me, man, this is a story. This is your story right now. And that's how good the Bible is, man. Like, you know, there I am watching that story, and I see myself in it. And it's in every story in the Bible, man. And the Bible has been... And I'm going to talk about that, where that's been a big part of my recovery, man. The Bible it's like the best book. I mean, even if you're talking about, like, the Bible's the best book for anything. You could get into health. It's the best. It tells you what, fruit, vegetables, fish, and fasting. All these human biologists talk about fasting, how good it is now. Man, Jesus knew a long time ago. You know what I mean? You talk about finances. It's in Deuteronomy. Like, it says debts reset every 7 years. 2026, if you get a bankruptcy, it's going to reset in 7 years. Said it in the Bible. You know, and you're not even talking about the human nature, how every story in the Bible is a flawed man or woman getting used by God. And so I was probably only a year or two sober. I was walking down Passion Ave in South Philly, and I don't know if you guys know the city, but I normally walk away from people handing things out. And you know, they're always trying to sell you this. I used to keep my earbuds in, but I remember being on the pink cloud, walking down there. I had the earbuds in. I was jamming, and I just seen a guy handing out flyers, and I don't know. I kind of walked towards him, and it said men's Bible study. You know, Wednesday nights. I started going there, and there were some good people in there, man. And I only went there for a couple months before I moved. And last day I left, the guy gave me a Bible. I said, I don't know where to start. He said, start in the book of John. And I had a grandfather in my life that was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, the most happy, joyous, free, funniest man I've ever met. He was a big influence in my life. My grandpa, he lived down Wildwood Crest, down the shore Every morning, every summer I was down there. Every day he had his vitamins, his oatmeal, and his Bible. Took me to church, and my grandpa modeled the Christian life more than anybody I ever seen. He never even told me to read the Bible. I just always wanted to be like him because I didn't have a lot of other good influences, and I did have some good ones as well, but he was a big influence in my life. So when the man gave me that Bible, I thought of my grandpa, and I promised myself I'm reading that book for 5 minutes every day. And I got to be honest about my shortcomings. I'll be honest about my strengths. I probably haven't missed many days. I'm coming up on 9 years. I got this book at about the Bible about a year sober. For the past 8 years, I could probably count on one hand. When I went to Lancaster, the Bible came with me. I was in the bathroom in the morning before the kids got up. I go down the shore, it comes with me. I sneak away wherever I'm at. And I'll give you my cheat code. I put the Bible in my bathroom in front of the toilet on a little stand. Because now I don't got to make time for the Bible. I'm going to be in there probably once or twice, and I'm going to get in the Word. So I've had a lot of growth in the bathroom. But since then, I take the Word out, and then now I get into it in the living room too. But it stays in my bathroom to this day. And I started journaling when I first started reading the Word because I started to read things that just happened. And then I read things that happened tomorrow. I'm like, man, this is like, this book's unreal. That Bible's real, man. It's alive, man. If you're walking with the Lord in here and you want to text the Lord and hear back, get in the Word. Get in the Word. And there's stuff in the Word. There's stuff hidden for the diligent, man. People that go deep in the Word and stay with it. There's stuff hidden in there that not everybody gets to, man. And I'm hoping I can get to as much of it as I can. But I had another encounter. It was like 3 or 4 years later. I was in Fishtown working, and I'm in the city, man. There's homeless people. There's stuff all over. So I keep devotionals. I keep tracts. I keep literature in the truck. And if I see somebody, I talk to them, pray with them, give them stuff. I seen a homeless lady. I could hear her walking behind me, right? I turned around, and it was raining out. I also keep umbrellas because you see people walking, need umbrellas. So I called for her. She turned around and came over, and I asked why she's out there. She said she came down, but she was filthy, dirty, but clear as day in the face. I mean, clear as day. Eyes were clear. She said she came down from New York, and I started sharing my story with her. And I told her I read the Bible, right? She stopped me in my tracks. She said, "You're strong, aren't you?" And I looked at her, man. I think she was an angel, man. I think I will see this woman in heaven. I really do. She looked me in the face and said, "You're strong, aren't you?" I mean, that's like psychology 101 because she told me I was strong that made me tell her yes. And I don't think anyone my whole life has told me I was strong. And she's telling me this on the corner of Girard and Montgomery in Fishtown. I said, "Yeah, I guess I am." She said, "Can I pray with you?" I said, "You sure can." We bowed our heads right on the corner down there, and she prayed for me. And I don't remember the whole prayer, but she had said that, "Father, we know that you give those that love you the desires of their heart. But, Father, we need help with secret faults." She knew where I was at, man. She told me I was strong, but told me I needed help with secret faults. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I looked at her. She was filthy dirty. I could smell her. I said, "Can I give you a hug?" And we locked up right there at Girard and Montgomery, man. And she gave me a big hug. And we had a couple words, and she walked away. And it didn't happen like this, but this is how I see the ending, like the Field of Dreams when they just walk off into nothing. I swear she walked off into nothing, man. She was clear, and she prayed like she had prayed before, man. I think I got a hug from heaven that day, but we'll see one day when I get there. But I think within all of us, there's a Joshua and there's an Israelite in every one of us. And the only way I'm going to get to be that Joshua, I believe, is 12 steps, not 8 steps, not 6 steps, working the 12 steps, reading the Word and staying in community. Because if I do those things, I believe whatever I'm trying to overcome will fall off by default. And if I don't, I'm going to wind up like the Israelites, man. I'm going to go back to slavery every single time. I'm not going to come up here and speak. I'm not going to get honest because it's going to be running my show. And I think, I pray that the Joshua in all of us shows up, because I don't know, everybody in here might be at a different season of sobriety, but, unless you're on the AA or NA honor roll, there's probably something that could be holding you back from the primary purpose. I just want to pray and encourage everybody to find that Joshua. You know, they say sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. It'll always materialize if you work for it. Come on. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me out.